Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about contemplation and theurgy. Okay? Why do these two things go hand in hand, especially with sorcery and witchcraft? No matter what system of magic, sorcery, or even practice that you do, it is always a good thing to contemplate upon the history, the mythology, the folklore, and how these practices and spirits were seen throughout history. Theurgy is more or less a hermetic tradition. Okay, it is where you not only contemplate and work with a system of sorcery, it's a combined metaphor. Okay, and I'm going to show you some materials of what I mean by contemplation and theurgy. Okay, first of all, anyone into the occult and witchcraft, you know about Henry Cornelius Agrippa. Okay, the three books of occult philosophy. Okay, this book here not only deals with astrology and numerology, but it literally takes you into what is known as the soul mirror. Okay, everything I've studied on the soul mirror, when I looked at my teacher and I said, "Are we talking the mirror of Lilith, a black scrying mirror, like for divination, summonings, and stuff like that?" He said, "No, the Bible." Okay, and I just want to read something to you real fast. Where is it? I had it marked here. There it is. On page, actually, this book doesn't have a page, but it's chapter V. Down at the bottom, the vehiculum of that superior light, as also of him who saith, "I am the light of the world." Okay? This is also spoken of in the Bible. But what people don't do and have no understanding of is that in this factor, we are talking the elementals, the four basic elementals. We're talking earth and water, fire and air. Okay? Now, why did I just put that in that category? In just that way? Well, I'm going to get into this in just a minute. And I want you to contemplate on this because this is deep. This is deep. Okay? It's contemplating. It's literally going into yourself. You have the forces that are light. Okay? When we think light, fire, okay, and air, these are forces and elements that are considered to be so light that they can float, they can move around, they can be heated up, on a molecular level. Okay? But what is this without that density? That thick density of earth and water. Bruce Lee once said, "Water is the softest stuff on earth, and yet it can fit into any container." This was his way of contemplating it through martial arts. Okay? Now, if we take this example, the earth is hollow, it's silent until you piss it off. Okay? So if you take water and earth, it's the two elements that are how should I say this? It is unmovable, and yet it flows free. The earth spins on an axis. The water goes with a current. Okay? The water goes with a current. But yet it's said that these two elements do not move. They do not move. But yet you can add to them through fire and air. You can add to that molecular density to create or to destroy. Fire is known as a destructive force. It can kill, it can destroy forests, it can destroy homes, lives. But yet, what happens after the fact? You still have that smoldering ashes inside the ground, right? Mix it in with water, you get oxygenation, you have that combustion factor, and then you have the earth. The creation of new life. Trees and forests, plant life regrows after the fact, after that destructive force. So if we contemplate on this theurgy aspect within a soul mirror technique, let's call it a tool, okay? Because I'm still studying the soul mirror thing. It's very fascinating to delve into, and I've only found a couple of links to it so far. So if we take this analogy, this tool, and we apply this to ourselves, do we not learn and grow? Do we not make those changes within? Do we not add things to ourselves like memories, insights into our past and present, or perhaps our desires and goals for the future? Is that not adding to that dense body, that mass, the density of that mass, that structure? But yet, when you contemplate and meditate upon yourself first, your emotional status, your pain and suffering, your torment, finding balance within a state of unbalance. When you go from chaos to order, how do you do that? You start with yourself. That is why a lot of the great teachers out there will tell you point blank, you must first change within before you can change without, right? That's how it works. That's why so many of us constantly look within. Why we constantly change within and tap into that current, that inner current, before we tap into what is outside of us. Some of the great works out there that help you in this aspect, outside of Henry Cornelius Agrippa, is Marcus Aurelius, the Book of Meditations, 2nd century. Okay, this guy was a politician. He was a philosopher. And he had so much insight, so much wisdom that he gained throughout his political and personal careers. Dost thou not see how even those that profess mechanic arts, though in some respect they be no better than mere idiots, yet they stick close to the course of their trade, neither can they find in their heart to decline from it. And is it not a grievous thing that an architect or a physician shall respect the course and mysteries of their profession more than a man the proper course and condition of his own nature, reason, which is common to him and to the gods? That's deep. That is deep. And that's in this book, Marcus Aurelius, Book of Meditations. One of the other ones that I found interesting was about 400 to 500 years ago. And we all know that classical play, but most don't delve into it on a psychological and philosophical nature. And it's called Dante's Inferno. Okay? Dante's Inferno. Very deep in structure as well. You see, we're talking about a man, Dante, who lost his job. He lost his home. He was imprisoned, and he was banished from his own homeland by a bishop, a cardinal. Why? While he was in prison, it is said that he wrote to this cardinal on the levels of hell. Each one was based off the 7 sins. The 7 sins. Now, a lot of people, when they read about this, they say, well, he was threatening the guy, or he was just spewing chaos, anarchy. But when you delve into the scripture and you delve in between the lines and you look at the levels of the painting itself, that is a reverse pentagram, by the way, showing different levels. It is said that in some cases, there are 13 levels of hell, with the devil encased in fire and brimstone in the very bottom with his large gaping mouths. The left hand is for all those who betray, and the right hand is for the warrior, his most trusted. And in these other levels above, these demons, like the 7 sinful demons, like Lucifer and Asmodeus, Satan, Belphegor, okay, and so forth, all reside in those, going all the way down to Satan. Each level from the top going all the way down is worse than the last. So in essence, when we look at the painting and we read the scriptures, we see where Dante was not threatening him. He wasn't spewing just empty words. He was literally teaching this cardinal, this minister that imprisoned him, that took his homeland from him and took his family, his friends, and his home, his career away from him. No, he wasn't doing that. He was teaching him. This is what you're doing. This is your sins. You think you're high and mighty, but in truth, you are not. You are a sinner. This is what you're doing. Okay? And that's what Dante was doing. He was teaching him, educating him. And it's very insightful, because when we look at this teaching, this lesson, it is just another set of lessons that we as practitioners have to learn and remember. When we look at this stuff, it is not only showing us to constantly reflect on inside of us in what we're doing, what we're trying to create, what we're trying to overcome, and where we want to be. But it's showing us in stages the blockages, the hindrances, our personal failures. But it is also showing us where we have succeeded and gained beneficial and fruitful techniques. If you run a business, do you not have failures? Do you not have succeeding? Very different than when I was pregnant with Luke. Do you not have all this stuff? And that's the interesting part. I mean, even when we get into J.K., and I'm probably going to butcher his name, Heisman's The Damned. Okay? This teaches us about the divinity factor. When we look at the difference between Dante and Agrippa's work, we get into The Damned and we see how it goes from the lesser. Let's call it the condensed versus the expanded. What's interesting about this is you have the physical realm, this realm that we live in. This is the microcosm known as the little god. Okay? When we step into magic, when we step into the spiritual nexus, we become the agents of that system, the deities of that system. We become the ambassadors, the spokesmen for them. We commune like the old shamans, the old necromancers, with one foot in the world and one in the spiritual nexus. Okay? Here, we're not just looking at it from the mirror effect of, say, the 9 realms of heaven and hell, or the 9 choirs of heaven and hell. Okay? Where there's 9 realms between the throne of God in this world, and from this world to the throne of Satan. Again, we're seeing that duality. We're seeing that dualistic force of who we are and who we commune with. The education versus slavehood. Okay? So when we look at this, The Damned literally teaches us within a spiritual sense of connectedness with that divine spark, that divinity, and how to generate that prosperous lifestyle or that persona that we're trying to create for ourselves. And it's kind of like Friedrich Nietzsche as well. In a lot of things, he teaches you a lot of things. And let's take social media for an example today. I mean, every time we get on, there's always some kind of drama, right? There's so much hate. There's so much racism going on, and lately there's been all this political upheaval between Biden supporters and Trump supporters. Personally, I could care less about it, but it's a lesson that you got to take into account here, and it plays into these other works. One does not hate so long as one continues to rate low, but only when one has come to rate equal or higher. Okay? Think about that for just a moment. Ultimately, one loves one's desires and not that which is desired. So basically, right here, we're looking at self-gratification. Okay? This is Satanism 101 for you. The second highest law of a Satanist is self-gratification. Anything that brings you desire, anything that brings you gratification is all good as long as it doesn't violate that highest law, which is self-preservation. Okay? The vanity of others offends our taste, only when it offends our vanity. Okay? When somebody calls you out on something, let's say for an example, you run your mouth about something. Okay? Let's say for an example, you speak lies and somebody calls you out on it. Okay? And they actually show proof. This is vanity, okay? It offends your vanity because you were trying to create something that was untrue. When we get into sorcery, any kind of sorcery and spirituality, we have to look at it in two perspectives. Okay, two. The compounded and the expanse. The expanse. The microcosm versus the macrocosm. Macro being the big God. But we do this through elementals. The changes of alchemy within, but also that of the alchemy outside of you. All of this plays into a huge interconnected spider web that you, as the practitioner, will come to know within your sorcery. Okay, as you grow, your magic will grow. The more you reflect on your days, your dreams, your goals, this is everything to do with the lower realms. A lot of people, when they come into sorcery, they want power. They want it like this, like right now. Show me proof. Well, for one, you're not going to get that proof because you don't have the right mindset. You don't have that right inner balance. Okay? Here, we're showing you the changes. One of the biggest things that I want you to remember when working with astrology and numerology, not just divinity in itself, is this. There was a man, he was well known as an astrologer. He had an apprentice, a friend of his that he used to play chess with. One day he gives this friend, a tiny ship and told him to hide it, to keep it hidden, in his growth financially and his lifestyle will be beneficial. Before long, this friend is rich, owns fleets of ships. It is said that he became so wealthy that he never wanted to go back to poverty again. He never wanted to go back to poverty again. Until one day he had that confliction because everybody was telling him, that's of the devil. That's evil. Because they serve the church, right? So one day he decides, I'm going to go to confession. This is a Catholic thing. So he goes in and he sits in the box, the confessional, and he tells the priest, I'm in fear for my soul. I'm in fear because I feel like I've sold my soul to the devil. And he goes into the long history of, well, I used to play chess with this friend of mine, and he's an astrologer. And he gave me this little ship, this effigy, like a voodoo doll, but as a ship, and told me that as long as I kept it hidden and worked, I would become successful and rich, powerful, never to see poverty again. And the minister doing what ministers do best. Well, that's of the devil. That's a devil's tool. You got to get rid of it. So what's the guy do? He thanks the priest, goes out, takes it out, and destroys it. Before long, he's back in poverty. Complete and utter destruction of his empire. He literally goes right back into poverty. You see, today we understand this eulogy, this effigy. This ship represented his career, his way of life. And if back in the day, if these ministers and these townsfolk that talk so much negativity about it took the time to look at the resemblance of it, this one little effigy, number one, it was the stationary of the stars, the planets, that were in a certain alignment that would benefit him. It was that thought form. It wasn't a spell. It wasn't a ritual that was done. No, it was that effigy, that, how should I say that beneficial magic, if you wish. That there's a word for it, but I can't think of it offhand right now. You watch, it'll come to me later. But my point is this. So the guy goes back, and after hitting poverty, and he goes to his friend, he says, "Hey, do you have another replica of that ship?" And the guy literally said, the story goes that his friend literally chastises him and tells him that was like a once in a blue moon type of thing. It was your own stupidity for destroying it. So, what is the lesson behind this? What is the lesson that you need to contemplate on? Do you listen to the spirits? Do you listen to your teachers, your elders, with a humble heart and a humble mind? Or do you try to do things that others want you to do, that will lead you into servitude, in slavehood, poverty? There are those who want to help you and those who want to destroy you. You have to discern which is which. These books that I just showed you, they show you from various different eras in time that the same issues that we face today have been going on repeatedly for the better part of 2,000 years and beyond. Think about that for just a moment. The opposing forces, angels versus demons, God versus Satan, Michael versus Lucifer, or Marduk versus Tiamat. How about that? Ahura Mazda, the mad god, versus Orion. Wow. Or how about Belobog versus Chernobog? That's Slavic witchcraft, by the way. Right there, Slavic folklore. Chernobog being the black god, the vile, murderous, bad guy. Okay? The modern day JCI, Satan, if you wish. But no, it has nothing to do with Satan. So you're dealing with demonolatry here. You're dealing with the lower realms, those of fruition, those who are teaching you to become your own being, your own sorcerer, your own God, and to take your journey into your own hands by taking that first step, by eating the fruits of the tree and becoming a God. And then you have the other side of that flip coin, the Belobog, the Yahweh, the Yeshua, or that of Allah, who is supposed to be all powerful, but yet doesn't raise a finger to help you. Servitude, give all your money to my churches. My doctrines, my way, or the highway. Think about that for just a moment. The celestial bodies versus You see, the celestial bodies deals with angels and demons, the gods, the realm of the gods, whereas the elementals and the compounded things deal with this realm, and what you do in your life. So you have two compounds here, two different views through elemental degree, not just spiritualism versus reality. You're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with water. Emotion deals with water, healing. You have anger, rage, warfare that goes with fire and destruction. You have the fruits, the seeds of life which come from the earth. And then you have the oxygenation, the air of enlightenment that is associated with air. Now, these, according to the witch's creed, the witch's pyramid, and the witch's oath, correlates with the soul, the spirit of the practitioner, aka the triangle of evocation. Surprise, there's your hermeneutics for you. But all of this comes down from spiritualism to philosophy, and it goes right into actual witchcraft, astrology, numerology, herbs, plants, trees, you name it, it's there. The only way you can learn is to do it, practice it, and delve into it for yourself. All right? Have a good night and contemplate on this stuff. Look inside yourself and tap into that current to make the changes within. And don't be in a hurry. Do not be in a hurry to master everything in a day. It takes time to rise from the ashes. Even the phoenix teaches you that. Have a good night.